Welcome, guys. Glad for you guys to be here. We're excited to be able to share these stories with you guys. But as we were just saying, we don't need to script these because we've lived it. And our hope is that we're able to share our experiences with you about this amazing profession. And somehow one of you it clicks for, whether you're a guest or maybe you've already joined us, maybe you've already said yes, it clicks and you go, oh, because you've heard the thing, that success leaves clues, okay? But maybe you haven't heard this. There's power in proximity. And what that simply means is no matter what you're trying to do, you want to put yourself in the environment where people have already done it. Like if there's something you want to accomplish, you want to be around people who've already done those type things. And what we're going to share tonight, I think almost every human that walks this earth wants. They want better health. Of course, no one wants to be sicker, but the two big things is time and money. It's a struggle from the time you get out of your house. I heard it once said that most people, most adults were in a better financial position when they were 18 years old before they left home than they are now. Think about that. Think about how most adults leave home and then life starts and things get difficult. And this conversation is about making things less difficult. This conversation is about some solutions. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off, guys. I'm glad you guys are all here. My name is Brandon Cunningham. I get the honor of hosting Dr. Skip Campbell tonight. He's a good friend of mine, and I've got to actually, Skip was a big influence, and Jill was a big influence on a lot of us in our organization, a lot of the company, early on, still is early on. And I told a group today, if it wasn't for Skip and what he put together, I I know that our opportunity wouldn't even be close to what it is today. It's that big of an addition to our company, and so I'm grateful to call him a business partner. More than anything, trust. I will tell you guys that trust is hard to come by, and when you find people that you can trust, it's a valuable, rare thing. I say quite a bit that the only people I owe my loyalty to are the ones that never made me question theirs. Skip has never made me question his loyalty. And so I'm very loyal to him. And so anyway, I want to jump into this, guys. So this information tonight is going to show up in a podcast later and potentially on two platforms. The one platform is called Why Would They? That's what you were invited to hear tonight. And the other platform is called The Freedom Factory. And I have to kind of say that because if I don't, they won't let us upload the material. They're a little protective. And so anyway, with all that said, I want to jump into this with Dr. Skip Campbell. You guys, he's a background that a lot of you have heard, but there's bits and elements that I've heard through the years that I'm going to try and pull out tonight. But a lot of you guys know Dr. Campbell as a chiropractor, a doctor that left that profession. And that's the real theme tonight. Like, why would he? To best of my knowledge, he was a chiropractor just outside of Denver and had like some pretty high, like the Avalanche, I think. Like he worked with professional athletes, and so I would think the epitome of what most people are looking for when they, try to build a life and being a doctor. And so why? Like why would he leave that? So Skip, we're excited to have you here. Any opening thoughts before I start asking you some questions?
Yeah, real quick, dude. I appreciate the intro. I was thinking earlier today, I didn't do nearly as good a job on your intro. We got to redo that. But one of the things we're going to talk about later, but one of the things that has, that I really value about this whole journey has been these relationships that we're able to develop with people, and awesome families like you and your family. My wife and I think of you guys as family, and so yeah, it means a lot to be able to go through this whole thing with people like that you care about and you want to see do well, that you're actually rooting for instead of against, like in corporate America. So I just appreciate the words.
Yeah. For sure. I meant it. And I know a lot of people that are on this Zoom tonight would say the same thing and have equally um, uh, good things to say about you guys. So let's jump into this. Tell us a little bit about the background. We know you were a chiropractor, but give us a little, give us beyond that. Like, are you an only child? Where were you born? Like, tell us about your background.
I will. I'm the oldest of four. Um, and my parents were divorced when I was 10 years old, and I was a little bit of a rebel. Not necessarily the rule break. I was a rule breaker. I was just, whatever. Went into the military because of that. Learned discipline, learned loyalty, learned how to, finish a job, whether the clock is run out or not. You don't go home at 5 when you're in the military. And, you go home when the job is done. Spent a couple of years overseas. Married my wife, actually. I met her um, right out of high school. I met her at college. First couple of weeks of college, and it truly was like, they talk about this, and I know it makes for movies and stuff, but she came and sat in front of me, and at a football game, and I remember, and she looked up at me, and when she looked up at me, I thought, dude, that chick is fine, man. That's how we talked back in the day. Today she'd be bad or whatever, or hottie. I don't know what you would call it, but back then she was fine. My friends, she was the kind of fine that made you ugly. You'd look at her and go, "Ooh, dang, she's cute." And and she was really flirtatious, and she started flirting with me like over the top. And then it was just one of those like the movie same moments. She gets up and she walks off, and I said, "I'm gonna marry that chick." I'm gonna chase her down until I pin her down. And we got married, went into the military, um, and had a couple of kids because that's what you do in the military. Seth, our oldest, love him to death. I know you're very close with him. He cost me $4.12. Jill and I, he cost us $4.12 in the military. That's what he cost to be born. And a couple of years ago, I pulled him aside and I told him, you were worth every penny. Um, got two daughters. Now we have 10 grandkids. Practiced for 22 years. Um, we've just loved life.
What did you do anything out of the military before you got into chiropractic?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to go back to school. Like I did the whole time I was in the military, I was doing part-time school. And so I knew I wanted to go back. I took a job delivering cake and bread on the West Coast for Oro Wheat and Entenmann's. So if you've ever had a loaf of Oro Wheat bread or an Entenmann's chocolate chip or Louisiana crunch cake was our biggest seller, by the way. I don't know. I don't even know if there's such a thing as a Louisiana crunch cake, but in Entenmann's it was a big seller. Um,
King cake. I mean, we're in the season right now, but
Okay. So I delivered that to stores, made really good money doing that while I was figuring out what I wanted to go back and study. Became a chiropractor. I took a bunch of classes beforehand, and then I finished up at Berkeley, and then became a chiropractor. And then I practiced for 22 years. In Colorado, where I was from.
right out of school, did you work for someone else or did you start your own practice?
I associated for 2 years was the contract, and it was a great way to kind of get your feet wet. And then chiropractors eat their young, so you don't make any money when you're an associate. And the chiropractor that I worked for kept telling me, I think I might retire. I think I might retire. And I thought maybe he was going to sell me his practice, so I stuck around for another year. And then I decided he's never going to sell me this practice, so I went out on my own. And by the way, he's still practicing today.
Oh,
So
wow.
he was not about to get out and sell me his practice.
So, most people think once you're a doctor, it's all, rainbows and sunshine. So, what did you find out, as a chiropractor that maybe you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, it was hard, man. I found out that I didn't have a patient. I was 300 grand in between school and then building out an office and putting paper in the copy machine and x-ray machine and all of that stuff. I was over $300,000 into that, dude. And I remember that very first night, man, that I remember it like it was nothing because I couldn't sleep at all. And just hoping. But the one thing that was interesting was that I knew I wasn't going to fail. I was too far into it. There was no giving up. There was just going to figure it out. And there was ups and downs like anything. But starting a business, golly, man, the buck stops with you. So there's a lot of pressure on you. There was a lot of sleepless nights in the beginning. Getting yourself established in a community where I was at, Parker, Colorado, was a little more affluent. I think I was the fourth chiropractor in that town, and it was tough grind at first when you don't have a name, but you just do the do. You just go on faith and you do what you're supposed to do, and we end up building a large practice there, really successful practice.
All right, so you got this thing, you got the chiropractic thing going, running. I'm sure, you guys were figuring things out. The income's getting better, the name's out there. So why did you? Like that's the whole question. Like why would you leave that? What was going over there? What was going on with that practice, that business that even opened the door to the thought of leaving that?
So I thought about this for a while, I we had a really good practice. We were probably one of the bigger chiropractors in the city, in the state, certainly. And I treated Broncos, I treated the Avalanche. I grew up a Bronco fan. I'm not trying to offend all the Boston people on here, but we are going to beat the Patriots this next week. I hope we can still be friends after. And I was living the dream. So I wasn't one of those guys. Yeah, Ernie, that was for you, dude. I wasn't one of those guys that hated my job. I loved my job, dude. I loved the patients. I loved the relationships. My wife ran my front desk, and so I enjoyed going to work. But what happened was two things. I had a realization. I had two things. One was on a ski slope one day. I was skiing because I skied a lot, and this little kid comes ripping over the mountain, and I had to veer off the slope, off the groomed pathway into the trees. And I had to duck and cut and duck again. And I thought, man, that was an excellent ski move. I almost died right there. And then what happens to me what happens to my family if I'm paralyzed through that? I realized at that moment that all the reasons in my head that I had set up why I wanted to own my own business, none of them applied to me. If I wasn't in my office adjusting, I wasn't making any money at all. And that was you all of a sudden smell your own mortality when that happens. And it was either my mortality or whatever was in my pants from that near death accident, but I smelled my own mortality at that moment. And then I looked around, I started thinking about it. I just started thinking to myself, wait a second, 20 years I've been building this practice. And if I'm not adjusting, I'm not making any money. When I go on vacation, I'm miserable. And then I'm looking around at all these 60 and 70 and 80-year-old chiropractors still working. And I was like, this isn't much different than just having a job. As much as I loved it, it wasn't going to give me the time with my family, the time with the people that I cared the most about, that I was looking for when I started the business. You own businesses; they own you, and not the other way around.
How
So
old were I'm just curious because I've had some of the same thoughts, not because I was a doctor, but I've had those thoughts like, ooh, that was close.
yeah,
How old were you when that happened?
I was probably 38, maybe 37.
It's around that point, and I know a lot of you that are on here maybe can relate to that, right? At some point, I remember the first time it happened to me. I was driving over the speed limit in a pouring down rainstorm, and I kind of lost control of the car, and I'm like, "Whoa!" Like that, and I had kids,
Yeah,
and so that first thought of like the future, maybe some bad stuff happened, then what if? Maybe some of you guys can relate to that right now. Like if something happened to you, are you good? Like is everything settled for your family? Are they set up or would it not be so good?
I mean,
Right?
so I think I thought about that a lot, dude. And I thought at 60, you start to get you get wise. You've seen some things at 60. And I remember when I was young, and I know you can relate to this. When I was young, man, I just wanted to try to do stuff to get myself upside down. I just wanted to be upside down. I don't care if it's a water slide, a roller coaster. But nowadays, if I'm upside down, bad things happening, dude. Bad stuff. I don't want to be upside down. That's when you start realizing you're mortal. When you don't want to be upside down anymore, you go grab a 4-year-old and throw him upside down, and he doesn't expect it's the greatest thing ever. And if I'm upside down, I'm going to the hospital soon.
So you get introduced, someone calls you. Tell us the story about, how you got introduced to this business model and what eventually led to you saying yes. How did that
Yeah.
happen?
So we got a call from some friends that we trusted, some friends like you were talking about earlier, that we didn't have to, question their loyalty, question their authenticity. And honestly, at the time, they asked us to watch a short 9-minute video, ABC primetime video about a product that they said could lower oxidative stress. I said, no way, that's not possible. I mean, I was a research geek. I loved the PubMed. I still have a subscription to Elsevier. I mean, I dig into that stuff. And if there was a supplement that lowered oxidative stress, I knew about it, and apparently there was, and I didn't know about it. And so, to be honest, I looked at the very beginning because of the power of the science of what they had. And then on my second thing, I said to my wife, if that's true, it's the most important thing a human could take. And man, I hope I can make some money. I had no idea what network marketing was. I had never done it. I had no clue that you could build a team, that you could network and build a group of people. I didn't know how any of that worked. And but I just said, I hope they're showing me this for a reason. I hope I can make some money in front of something like this. And so, I went and I learned more. Everything that I thought I knew about network marketing was false. I had no idea. I said before, I had no idea what it was. I thought it was all kinds of other things. Losing my friends and embarrassing myself in public and all of that other stuff. I had no idea what it really was. And then
Did you have any concerns that, man, I went to school, I'm a doctor. Did you have any concerns of what people would think if you did this?
we did. My wife, well, I wish she was sitting right here telling, so she could tell you this, but she had it there. Most of the chiropractors and a bunch of the medical doctors in Parker, they all came to me to get adjusted. And when they would come just pop in and I'm out doing they would like, wait, he's a doctor. What are you doing an MLM for? He's a doctor. And they were chasing a different dream than I was chasing. That's really the end of it. And some of them had the opportunity, didn't do it. But I was a little nervous to talk to. Obviously, I didn't talk to any of my patients at the time, or not very many of them. We had to have a special relationship, like I would Deke the Freak, to be able to bridge that gap. But I talked to all my doctor friends, and I was a little nervous. Like I said in the beginning, though, I was very naive about it. Like I didn't realize how hard it was supposed to be, and I didn't realize that I was supposed to be embarrassed about it.
That makes sense. I mean, some people have never really heard about it. But nevertheless, whether you knew about it, didn't have any preconceived ideas, once you're in, tell us, like, okay, so you say yes. Like, what did that process look like? Was it a pretty quick decision for you guys? You saw the video and you're like, I'm in?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I was kind of hoping you were actually going to bring that up. I was thinking of today of the things that I wanted to say. We knew instantly. The second I found out there was going to be a business opportunity tied to this, the second I found out, I was like, I'm doing that for sure, because I just knew how big it was going to be. And I also remember, and I know you do too, what Napoleon Hill said about people and their ability to make decisions quickly. And so yeah, I've always been that way. I made that decision really, really quickly, just like we did when we opened our practice. And then you just go work to make that the right decision. You don't always make right decisions, but you go work, make the decision right. So yeah, we decided really instantly that night. In fact, we signed up, I think, the night of our first our first meeting. We pulled the computer out, pulled the credit card out, and we joined right on the spot.
Okay, so we all know, and Skip, that's not normal, right? That is not normal. It's usually just the opposite. So you sign up. Now share with us, okay, you're in a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. Was there ever a moment where you were like, oh, I don't know if this is the right thing to do? Or tell us what your biggest struggle was. Like, what was there some hangups after you said yes?
Oh, absolutely. Like we signed up right away, and I think we enrolled probably 16 people in our first 14 days, and it was on pure excitement. Like we didn't know nothing, Brendan. We had no. We would just say, people would ask, I don't know, you just got to talk to this guy. I don't know. I don't really answer that question. I'm just new. I just know this is gonna be big. And so then you start to build a little bit of a team, and you realize, what you do? You realize this one thing. Like if somebody sat down and said, hey, what's the greatest thing about network marketing? I'd say it's the people, for sure. The people are the best thing. Just getting the relationships. And then they say, what's the worst thing about network marketing? I go, that's the people, for sure. It's the people. And all of a sudden you find out that, there are people that have issues, and they've got problems, and they've got complaints, they've got concerns, and they want to So I think managing kind of the expectations of people, and trying to help them get out of their own way. Like now that it's been long enough, I think I could say this. There were so many times that my nature wanted to just reach out and slap someone and just say, what? Just get out to work. Just get to work. It's going to work itself out. I just wanted to find people that saw what we saw, what my wife and I saw. And when you find those people, it's golden. Everybody else, they're just getting in their own way. They're just using excuses as excuses, but they're just getting in their own way. And I believe that 100% anybody can do this business. Anybody can. If you have two of these and one of these and can use them proportionally, you can do this business.
All right, so you had, I mean, that's fast. Like, guys, I did it took me a month to get my first enrollment. Okay, so that's fast what he did. So with that kind of quick results though, did you guys have the typical like friends, family? Did you have some friends or family that you thought would do this that were just like, no?
100%. I'll try to tell you this story as fast as I can because we want to try to keep these short. So I talked to my brother-in-law, who was an engineer, and he said, no. And then a little while later, our CEO at the time came and did a meeting in Colorado, and I took him. And I just said, listen, you haven't seen it. You can't say no. Only stupid people say no to things they don't have the information for. So I said, you're going to come. So he comes, sits in the front row. It was a great meeting. Our CEO gets up and talks. And then I introduce him to our CEO at the meeting. And they start talking Japanese to each other, Brandon. And I'm like, I didn't know either one of them knew Japanese. And then they start talking about how they know some of the same people because they were in the same area and they both went on the same religious mission for the same church in Japan. And I'm thinking in my back, I know we're about to launch Japan. I'm thinking in the back of my head, oh, I'm going to be the king of Japan. I'm going to own that whole country. This is going to be great because there's no way this guy's going to say no. So we drive home, and on the way home, I asked him, I said, dude, do you want to do this? And he's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm like, what? Did you? He just told you we're about to launch Japan and we need people who speak Japanese. And he's like, yeah, I just don't want to do it. Well, I got to tell you real quickly. So that hit me like it was a gut punch, dude. This is my brother-in-law, You're thinking if you can't get your brother-in-law, family's way harder. It just is. But fast forward about 3 or 4 years, we moving through the ranks. I think we're about, we're probably EC3s by now. And we're traveling. We're making a ton of money. And I had to take a couch over to his house because his wife, my wife's sister, wants this couch. And I'm like, crap. I know this means me. I have to move the couch. I take it over there. I back the trailer up. I hit his daughter's car in the driveway, and I call him up and I say, "I hit your car. I'm sorry. Just bill me." And
Wait. You backed up like
a trailer.
bombs. You backed up bombs in the military, but you hit a car in a driveway.
You know what you don't do when you're backing up an air launched cruise missile nuclear warhead to a B-52? Hit stuff. They don't let you. You hit one thing and you're not doing that anymore. So yeah, I never hit anything, and I hit this guy's car. And what's worse is I thought the Jeep wheels were stuck on the curb, and it was the trailer on the bumper. And so what do you do when the Jeep wheels are stuck on the curb? You mash the gas. Nothing. I ripped this bumper off. It was horrific. And anyway, he calls me. I said, get me a quote. I'll pay it. He calls me like 3 days later and he goes, dude, I'm sorry, but it's a lot more than I thought it was going to be. And I said, dude, I'm sorry. Grab a pencil and a piece of paper. I'll give you a credit card number. And I just gave my credit card number. I said, I'm addressing at the Denver airport. I got to go through TSA, take this down. And I give it to him. And then he comes up 3 days later and says, dude, listen, I got to come see you. So he comes over to the house and he says, first off, they won't take credit cards that are scribbled on napkins. So I'm going to need a check or something. And he goes, but that's not why I came over. I came over here because you didn't even ask me how much it was going to cost. And I said, well, it doesn't matter because I'm the one who did it. I got to pay. And he goes, yeah, but I'd have to move money around. So I wanted to look you in the face and see how much are you making in that MLM thing of yours. And my wife popped around the corner like the little check fairy holding a check. And I watched the blood drain out of his face. And inside I was going, said, nope, no, you said no. And then he started begging me to join the company, literally begging me to join the company. And I said, no, I'm too busy right now. I'm going to hit Pro 10 here and presidential here in a couple of months. I'm just too busy for a new guy. And he begged me and he hounded me, called me every day, put me on the phone with his wife. He did it all. And it was quite a transition from the beginning when we act like we're begging everybody. But it was just one of those moments that illustrates how frustrating and how like you look at yourself when your brother-in-law says, no, I don't want to do this. You look at yourself like that's some indictment on you. And I just didn't realize at that moment in time, he didn't want to do the business. But 2 years later, he was now in the mind frame to do the business. And that's all it is, right? I didn't change, opportunity didn't change. He wasn't ready, but now he is. So
That's my story too, you guys. We didn't talk about that last week, but if my cousin would have called me the year before and offered me an opportunity, I would have laughed because I was in real estate in Florida when we were printing money. But she happened to ask me in 2009 after the real estate crash. Same person, same invite, same video, different outcome. So remember that what Skip just said is golden for you guys. People that are saying no, it's not because usually what you said's wrong, it's their timing. And when the timing's right, it's right. So you guys get this thing rocking and rolling. You guys have had massive success. And by not just our company standards, but by the industry standards, you guys have had massive success. Sitting on the top of something that a lot of people who would join a network marketing company could maybe not even fathom the success that you guys have had. So share with everyone why it was worth it, like the struggle and why you 16 years in, tell us what it's like now after you've transitioned from being a chiropractor to being a full-time networker. What's it like?
Dude, it's, you know what? It's a dream. It's honestly a dream. You wake up every day, honestly filled with gratitude for being at the right place at the right time, and then taking advantage of it. Being able to, when we got started, we had to figure out what our why was. Marcel told us that the why is what's going to power you through those tough times. And my why was my family. And I wrote a big long paragraph, but I summated it into a sentence Brandon's probably heard 100 times, which is I wanted to be able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, wherever I want, as often as I want, with whomever I want. I wanted to be able to pack up my entire family, take them to the Bahamas, come spend a week, come back, unpack, and then say, hey, let's go back. And that was genuinely my why. It breaks basically down into I just wanted to spend the time that I have left on this earth with the people that I care the most about, and doing, the stuff that we love to do. Luckily for us, this is one of those things. The MLM has been such a blessing. Network marketing and life management has been such a blessing that we now, this is what we love to do, as well as those other things. So being able to do that, to be able to go on vacations and see some of the, Brandon and I were in South Africa just a couple of months ago. We're going to go to Thailand here pretty quick. Being able to go to those places with the people you care about. And then I joked around a long time ago when we had our first grandson, Porter, and Porter. And I remember joking around that I said, you know what, when I die, I want engraved on my tombstone one of two things. I either want the words, see, I told you I was sick, or I want world's greatest grandfather. And I joked around about wanting to be the world's greatest grandfather because my grandfather was my hero and my idol when I was growing up. And it wasn't for money. It had nothing to do with, he was poor. He was a dirt farmer. But I'm going to be there. I'm not going to miss the baseball games and the soccer games and the football games and the basketball games. I'm going to be there when they graduate, junior high and elementary. I mean, I didn't even know you graduated elementary school, and now they have ceremonies, and I'm the only grandpa sitting out there. And so that's why I did it. And honestly, when I look back at it, I know you'd agree. It's a lot of work in the beginning for not a lot of money. And then in the middle, your work and your money about line up. And then if you build this right, the way we teach you how to build it, if you don't try to reinvent the wheel, if you're coachable, then it's a lot of money for not a lot of work. Oh man, I tell everybody that if you could live in my skin for just 10 minutes, you pull yourself to get to presidential. It's literally amazing. You feel like a freaking rap star.
Well, I'm not a rap star, but it does feel pretty good, to have success in this type business model. But if there's someone watching this now or is going to listen to the podcast later that's on the fence, what would you say to someone that's on the fence?
Don't be on the fence anymore. Like I stole in the network marketing. When you copy somebody, it's the sincerest form of flattery. It's not, nobody cares if so one of the guys that I really look up to in network marketing, came up with a close that I think was I think probably when he came up with this, he didn't realize how good this close was, because it answers so many questions. Like the number one thing you hear is, well, you know what? I don't want to pressure anybody. I'm not a sales guy. And I don't like sales guys. And I certainly don't know anybody that wants to be a sales guy. So one of the guys that I consider a mentor even is said that you need to make a decision and you need to do it quick. And here's why. A long time ago, we started talking to people, and they started talking to people, and those people started talking to people, and those people talked to some people, and they talked to you and put you on this Zoom right now, on this podcast right now. We found you on January, whatever it is that you're looking at this podcast. We found you and put you in front of this. We're going to end up finding everybody that you know. That's how network marketing works. We don't quit just because you say no. We found you, we're going to find them. So the longer you take, you have to make a decision. Do you want to help us do this or do you want to watch us do it? To me, that is as low pressure as I know that I don't care one way or the other. But if I were you, if I could go back and live in your shoes for a little bit, I'd get started last night. And I'll tell you why. This is the God's honest truth, by the way. I get started last night because the reason we were successful in the beginning was I was scared to death. I was urgent. I thought somebody was going to outwork me, and apparently somebody did. And I'm very disappointed in this person. You see, Jill and I have this ginormous group. And a lot of the people in our group we didn't know when we started. But we knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew Greg Deeker, or well, I knew Greg Deeker, but knew the Highfields. I knew somebody who 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 knew Brandon Cunningham. And I didn't get to Brandon. So now Brandon is in another organization, and he should be in my organization. And he's not, because I didn't get there fast enough. And so if I could instill anything in you guys, if you're thinking about doing this business, then jump in with both feet, sign up now, start yesterday. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Just make the decision not to do it. You don't need excuses. You don't have to do it if you don't want to do it. But if you want to do this with us, let us help you, show you how to do the business, because we'll do that for free so that your Brandon Cunningham doesn't end up in somebody else's business, because I should have got there faster. And that's what I would say is make the decision quickly, and then do not change your mind. Successful people make decisions quickly, and then they make that the right decision. Unsuccessful people tend to sweat and waffle back and forth, then finally make a decision, and then as soon as the wind changes directions, they quit. And then they say, oh, MLN didn't work for me. It's all BS. Make the decision quickly, work your guts out with your upline, and be coachable, and this will work for anybody.
Last question for you. Is there something that you wished you understood earlier? You've done this for a while now. Is there something you wished you understood earlier?
Yeah, there is. Man, that's a good question too. I already thought of the answer. So you're also a part of this story too, B. This will tell you guys a little bit of how much Brandon and I have worked together. A mentor, another mentor, not Brandon this time, he's coming up in a minute. Another mentor once told me, I think he told Brandon too once, he's in another company, but he said, I asked him that same question, and he just said, I would have believed much bigger, much sooner. And the reason I say that is because I would have, if I could go back and start all over again, the only thing I would change is I would have believed much bigger, much sooner. And I remember one time going on a tour with Brandon in Mexico, and we're down in cartel country. And I don't know why, it's like most of the stuff I say, I don't know why it comes out the way that it comes out. But I made some kind of a comment about, do you guys have any idea what we make? Do you have any idea? Go look at the income disclosure statement. Go look at what we make. And it comes every month. It's like, it just came a little while, 5 days ago. It's coming again in another. Do you have any idea? And Brandon is like, you're riding home in a different car, dude. I would have believed much bigger, much sooner, dude. I honestly, I mean, I knew I was going to get to the top. Jill and I were not going to dabble. We're not going to stick our toes in. It's not what we do. It's not what you do. You're type A. I'm a type A. We're going to go and win. But if I'd have believed much bigger, much sooner, it makes me wonder what could have been. But it's pretty freaking awesome, dude.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story with us. Why a chiropractor would want to leave that business and build something like this. And well, I guess one more question: do you earn more as a network marketer than you do as a chiropractor?
So yeah, good question. Our mentors, we had similar mentors, told us, because I was at that point where we hit the rank of about EC3, EC4, and that was about in chiropractic. we were averaged about $30,000 to $33,000 a month in income. We had a small overhead. My wife ran the front desk, and I was her employee, and she made all the decisions and wrote all the checks, and didn't pay me anything. By the way, I didn't get a salary. She didn't get me a raise. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for that, but that's the truth. So they said, listen, you don't think about getting out of practice until you've replaced your income 3 months in a row. So about 23 or 24 months in, we hit that rank, EC4-ish, and that's about what we were making in chiropractic. And so once we hit that for 3 months in a row, then we sold the practice, because I kind of knew that I could have a full-time practice and run a full-time network marketing business and get to that rank. But to get to the top, I was going to have to go full-time. So we sold the practice in March of 2012, and then we hit the very top rank at the last day of that year of 2012, December 31st. And yes, the income is of magnitude more than we were ever making as chiropractors. Yeah, an order of magnitude.
Yeah, it's incredible. You probably would have had to have several other chiropractic locations and several other chiropractors working for you to be able to match with.
Their own headache and their own, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for being here. It's awesome that you guys got to hear from Dr. Campbell tonight, hear the story, why he did this. If some of this resonated with you guys today, that's what we wanted, right? And just remember, you can tell we're just like you guys, right? We're just like you guys. The difference is that we said yes, and we figured it out. So all you have to know is that you have a reason to do this. You don't need to know all the reasons, all the facts, because you won't. You just need to know you have a reason to do it. And this thing will work for you. It absolutely will work for you guys. So appreciate you being here, Skip. And I'm glad you've been a part of this. So we're not sure who's up next week, but next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll do this again. And you're starting to see the format, right? There's basically 4 questions. What did you give us your background? Tell us why you chose network marketing. Tell us what some of the hurdles were, and then tell us, was it worth it? Like, that's kind of what you're going to hear. But you're going to hear from all these different backgrounds, different people, different ages, different, everything. But one common denominator, they made MLM a choice and turned their life and put it on the fast track. Probably to me, the most underappreciated and misknown industry in the world, MLM. And I'm on a mission to change that.
Hey,
So
I want to give you guys a challenge real quick. You now have 7 days. 7 days. Go get as many people as you can in the next 7 days on the next Tuesday night's podcast, because if you don't, somebody else will. And that Brandon Cunningham is going to show up in their business and not yours.
I'm working on it. Believe me, I'm working every day. So let them get in your group. You guys have a great night. We'll see you guys next week.